Welcome to another deep dive. We got a really interesting set of sources this time around about this young adult romance novel, 1,000 Boy Kisses. And it looks like it's stirred up quite a few opinions from what we can see.
Yeah.
So we've got excerpts from the Goodreads page, which gives us a pretty good overview of what the plot's all about.
Okay.
And we've got some thoughts straight from the author herself, Tillie Cole.
Cool.
And then a whole bunch of reader reviews.
Nice.
And they're really all over the place. Some are like totally gushing and others are, well, let's just say not everyone was grabbing for the tissues.
It's always interesting, to see a book that gets such different reactions.
Right.
Especially something like YA romance, which you'd think is going for a pretty specific feeling.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, right? We're not just going to recap the plot.
No.
We're going to get into the why.
The why.
Why did some readers just totally fall head over heels for this book?
Yeah.
While others were just like, meh. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so for starters, let's do the basics.
Okay.
So the Goodreads summary sets us up with these two characters, Poppy and Rune.
Poppy and Rune.
They're like childhood sweethearts, and they make this big promise to be
friends.
Best friends for infinity.
I know.
But I kind of melted at that one.
It's cute.
I know, but obviously life doesn't always stick to the plan, right? Especially the plans we make as kids.
Exactly.
So Rune's family ends up moving all the way back to Norway.
Oh, wow.
Like totally shatters their world.
Heartbreaking.
I know. And then years later, Rune comes back to their hometown.
Okay.
But he's determined to figure out why Poppy suddenly went silent. And that's where the whole mystery element comes in.
Classic YA romance, right?
Right.
The separation and reunion, it just fuels everything.
It's like that will they, won't they.
A longing, the drama.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and then woven into all of this is this jar of 1,000 kisses, which Poppy's grandma gave her before she passed away. So it's a symbol of their love story.
A tangible reminder, yeah.
But it's also kind of bittersweet, don't you think?
It is.
Which I think hints at where things are headed emotionally in this book.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
No.
And speaking of foreshadowing, the author, Tillie Cole, has said that this book is her most personal.
Oh, wow.
And her favorite that she's written.
Interesting.
She even said that she loves, dark, brooding men. Which, if you think about your typical YA hero...
Yeah, it's not usually the vibe.
Not really. So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the whole genre, right? Is she playing with those expectations,
Right.
Or just adding something different to a classic formula?
Totally.
It's something to keep in mind when we'll get into those reader reviews.
Okay, let's do it. So this is the good stuff, the reader reactions.
Let's hear it.
And we've got people who are obsessed with this book. Yeah.
They're talking about how emotional it is, how beautiful the writing is, how Cole just nails that feeling of first love.
Right.
But then on the other side, we've got readers who thought it was super predictable.
Really?
Cliche-ridden, even emotionally manipulative.
Wow.
Some even compared the writing to Wattpad. Which in the YA world can be a pretty loaded statement.
For sure.
And it's not just about how it was written.
No?
The ending itself has people up in arms.
Really?
Some were devastated. Others thought it was a realistic look at love and loss.
Okay.
It seems like Cole really went for it and bitched the whole happily ever after thing.
Interesting.
Which in a genre that's all about those happy endings, that's kind of a bold move.
A bold move, yeah.
But that's what I love about this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're not here to say if it's good or bad.
No.
We're figuring out the why.
The why.
Why did this one story get such strong reactions?
It's tacked into this whole range of emotions and expectations.
And we have to remember, YA romance is a genre.
Right.
It's where young readers can explore these big feelings for the first time.
First love, first heartbreak.
All of that.
Yeah.
Safely in a made-up world.
Exactly. So it's not just about this story, right? It's about what YA romance means culturally. How it shapes how we understand love, relationships.
Our whole emotional world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like this one book, 1,000 Boy Kisses, has become this mirror.
Oh, I like that.
It reflects not just what the author was thinking, but also all the different experiences and baggage that readers bring to it.
And that's a great transition.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because in our next segment, we're going to really dig into those reader reactions. We're going to break down the reviews, see what language they're using, and try to understand why some readers were totally smitten, while others were like grabbing for the metaphorical eye bleach.
Okay, can't wait. Okay, so welcome back. We've set the scene for 1,000 boy kisses.
We have.
But now it's time to get into the nitty-gritty.
Yes.
Remember how we talked about those reviews calling it a tearjerker?
Yeah.
Well, let's actually get into why certain stories, especially in YA romance, make us reach for the tissues.
Okay, I'll admit it. I am one of those people who loves a good cry, especially when it's about fictional characters.
Really?
It's like a safe space to let it all out, you know?
Yeah.
But I've always wondered, like, what's the psychology behind that? Why do we want stories that make us feel sad?
It's such a good question.
Right.
There's this idea that experiencing strong emotions, even negative ones, can actually be cathartic. Like a release valve.
Oh, interesting.
For all those pent-up feelings.
So it's not just wallowing.
Yeah, no.
It's actually processing stuff in a healthy way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And YA romance, with all that focus on first love, it often taps into those raw, heightened emotions.
Right.
The kind that are just so strong during adolescence. You know?
Everything feels so much bigger then.
Right. So those feelings of heartbreak or longing, they can be super intense.
Which makes sense why YA romance is so popular with young readers, right? Like they get to experience it all secondhand.
Yeah, like a dress rehearsal for real life.
Exactly. But with all the drama of fiction. And 1,000 boy kisses.
Yes.
With how strong Poppy and Rune's connection is, it seems like it really hit that emotional nerve for a lot of readers.
It did.
But of course, not everyone wants that level of intensity.
Yeah, right.
Some reviewers found it over the top.
Really?
Even manipulative. Like the author was trying too hard to make them cry.
Instead of just letting the story happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it raises this question about writing in general. How do you create strong emotions without being melodramatic or cheesy?
It's a tough balance.
It is.
And it seems like readers were pretty divided on how Cole handled it in 1,000 Boy Kisses.
Totally. There was a lot of talk about authenticity, too. Some readers thought the dialogue was too mature, too philosophical for teenagers.
Yep.
They wondered if Cole was sacrificing realism.
To get those tears flowing.
Exactly.
And it's a fair point.
It is.
It brings up that whole thing about artistic license versus what readers expect. How much can you stylize dialogue or ramp up the emotions while still making it feel believable?
That's a question every writer has to wrestle with, right?
Absolutely.
Especially in YA romance, where the line between real feeling and cliche can be so blurry. It's like there's this unspoken agreement between the author and the reader.
Okay.
We as readers agree to suspend our disbelief to a point.
Right.
But we want the story to feel real, even if it's dealing with crazy or heightened situations. And when that agreement is broken, you know, whether it's through dialogue that feels fake, predictable plot twists, or characters that are too sentimental, readers feel cheated.
Betrayed, even.
Yeah. Which brings us to another thing Cole seems to be playing with in this book.
What's that?
That whole love you since childhood thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's so popular in YA romance.
Super popular.
But in 1,000 Boy Kisses, she takes it to like a whole other level.
Okay.
These kids meet when they're 5.
5 years old?
5 years old.
Wow.
It's like a fairy tale, right?
It is, that destiny thing, finding each other so young.
Soulmates.
Yeah. And for YA readers, that kind of innocent forever love, it's just so appealing.
It is. It taps into that desire for a love that's meant to be, that can overcome anything.
That can overcome anything, yeah.
But in 1,000 Boy Kisses, that fairy tale is totally shattered when Rune's family moves away.
Right.
And that separation. It's like the fuel for everything that comes after.
It fuels the longing, the yearning.
That sense of something missing.
That drives the story forward, yeah.
But it's not just about romantic longing, right? It's about losing that childhood innocence. That feeling of safety and belonging that's gone when Rune leaves.
You're so right.
And that loss of innocence.
Yeah.
It's even more obvious with the whole Blossom Grove thing.
Oh, the Blossom Grove.
It's this magical, almost like Garden of Eden setting.
Okay.
Where Poppy and Rune meet, have their first kiss, and make that pact to be best friends for infinity.
Right.
But as the story goes on,
the
Blossom Grove becomes the symbol of lost innocence.
Oh, wow.
Like a reminder of what they can never have again.
That's such a good point.
And speaking of bittersweet.
Okay, here we go.
Let's talk about that ending.
The ending. Everyone's talking about it.
Right. Some readers were devastated. Others thought it was a realistic, albeit heartbreaking, look at love and loss.
Cole definitely made a choice to ditch the happily ever after, didn't she?
She did. And it seems like that risk paid off for some readers.
Oh.
The ones who liked the emotional honesty of it, even if it left them feeling raw.
Makes sense.
But for others, it felt like a betrayal.
Oh, wow.
They'd been on this journey with Rune and Poppy, cried all those cathartic tears, and they expected an ending that proved love conquers all.
Right.
And when they didn't get that, some readers felt cheated, even angry. Like Cole shattered their expectations, forced them to face the fact that life and love are messy and unpredictable.
And maybe that was the point all along.
Right.
To create a story that didn't shy away from how complicated things are.
Even if it meant ditching that comfortable, happy ending.
It's definitely a bold choice.
It is. And it says something about how YA romance is changing.
How so?
Authors are more willing to push the boundaries.
Yeah.
Explore darker themes. Challenge what readers think a satisfying ending is.
And by doing that, they're creating stories that are more nuanced.
More thought-provoking.
And maybe, just maybe, more like real life.
Okay, so we've talked about the tearjerker stuff, the Blossom Grove symbolism, and that controversial ending.
Right.
But there's one thing we haven't mentioned yet.
What's that?
The reader who compared 1,000 Boy Kisses to a Wattpad romance.
Oh, yeah. That's loaded in the YA world.
It is. For some, it's a compliment.
It gets raw, emotional, super engaging.
Exactly. But for others, it's a criticism.
Like it's not deep or sophisticated enough. It's almost like there are two sides.
Yeah.
Those who love that intense Wattpad style. And those who want something more literary.
And 1,000 Boy Kisses.
Yeah.
With its mix of big emotions and deeper themes. It seems to fall somewhere in between.
Appealing to some, but turning off others.
Which, when you think about it, shows how powerful the book is.
How so?
It started conversations, challenged assumptions, and made readers really think about what YA romance can be.
It's like Cole, whether she meant to or not, created a story that goes beyond just the genre.
Right.
Something that speaks to the human experience in a way that's both universal and really personal.
It's like she's thrown down a challenge.
A challenge.
Yeah, to engage with the story on your own terms. Embrace its complexity.
Yeah.
And just let yourself get swept away by the emotion.
Even if it takes you to places you weren't expecting.
Or places that make you uncomfortable.
And that's the sign of a truly great story.
All right.
It's not about giving easy answers or making everyone happy.
No.
It's about making you think, sparking debate, and leaving a mark on you long after you finish reading.
Well said. And that brings us to the best part of this deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
Hearing from you, our listener.
What do you think?
Were you hooked by how intense Rune and Poppy's connection was? Or were there things that made you unsure?
Right.
Did all those tearjerker moments feel cathartic?
Or manipulative?
We want to know what stood out to you.
Yeah.
What made you question your assumptions?
Right.
And what you ultimately took away from this exploration of 1,000 Boy Kisses.
We'll continue the conversation in part 3, where we'll really dig into those reader responses.
Right.
And look at what this book means for the ever-changing world of YA romance.
So stay tuned. There's a lot more to discover. And we're back for our final deep dive into 1,000 Boy Kisses.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has, exploring Poppy and Rune's world, those passionate reader reactions, and even YA romance as a whole.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
From those tearjerker moments to that ending that had everyone talking.
But now it's time to shift the focus to you.
Our listener.
Exactly. We've analyzed the story, broken down those reviews.
And now we want to know,
what resonated with you?
Did you find yourself totally swept away by Rune and Poppy's connection?
Or were there parts of the book that made you hesitate?
Maybe you found those tearjerker moments cathartic.
Or maybe they felt a bit manipulative.
Did you love that unconventional ending?
Or did you feel like you were robbed of that classic happily ever after?
There are no right or wrong answers here.
Nope.
What matters is that this book got a reaction out of you.
Started a conversation.
And that's what we want to explore in this last part.
So, to get things going,
I
want to share a review that really sums up that love it or hate it feeling about 1,000 Boy Kisses.
Okay.
It's from a reader named Val.
Val.
And let's just say she didn't hold back.
Oh, I remember that one. It was like a whole roller coaster of emotions.
It was.
Starting with trying to be diplomatic and then spiraling into this hilarious rant about all the tearjerker stuff.
She even compared it to watching those baby elephants get eaten by lions in the movie Earth.
Yeah. Such a vivid image.
It really shows how strongly this book can affect people.
For Val, it was just too much.
Too much emotion.
She even warned other readers to stay away if they wanted to avoid major unnecessary book depression.
Like a giant warning sign.
Yeah. Beware of the emotional fallout of entering Rune and Poppy's world.
But here's the thing.
What?
Even in her criticism, Val admitted that the book was well written.
Right.
And that she connected with the characters.
She couldn't deny Cole's skill or the emotional depth, even though it triggered a negative reaction for her.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a reminder that even the best writing can't please everyone.
Nope.
Sometimes a book's emotional intensity can be both its best quality and its downfall.
It all depends on the reader, their personality, their experiences.
So true, so true.
Which brings us back to that bigger question we touched on earlier.
About?
The evolving landscape of YA romance.
Right, right.
We talked about how 1,000 Boy Kisses kind of walks the line between that raw emotional style you often see on Wattpad and that more nuanced literary approach some readers prefer.
It's like there's this tension within the genre itself.
A push and pull between those who want pure emotional roller coaster rides.
And those who want well-developed characters, clever plots, and maybe a bit less tear-jerking.
Exactly, and you can see that tension playing out in the reviews.
Yeah. Some readers loved Cole's ability to evoke those strong emotions.
While others thought she was trying too hard, sacrificing realism for the sake of making us cry.
It's so interesting how one book can spark such different responses.
It makes you wonder about the future of YA romance.
Will we see more stories like 1,000 Boy Kisses?
Ones that are emotionally intense, even controversial.
Or will readers eventually crave those more traditional, comforting narratives?
It's a question worth thinking about.
It really is.
It highlights how storytelling reflects not just the author's ideas, but also the culture, the changing tastes of readers.
And as those tastes change, so will YA romance.
But one thing stays the same.
What's that?
The power of stories to connect us, to challenge us.
To make us feel things.
Which brings us back to you, our listener.
One last time.
We've explored 1,000 Boy Kisses. We've looked at the reactions.
Now we want to hear your final thoughts.
What did you take away from this deep dive?
Here's something to think about.
Okay.
If Rune and Poppy's story continued, what do you think their lives would be like years later?
Would they find their way back to each other?
Or would those echoes of their past keep haunting them?
It's a question Cole leaves open.
And it speaks to how powerful first love can be.
How those early experiences shape who we become and how we see the world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into 1,000 Boy Kisses.
We'll be back soon with another exploration of the books, articles, and ideas that are shaping our world.
Until then, keep reading, keep thinking, and keep those conversations going.